everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Closer Look, the show dedicated to bringing you the facts. We ask the questions no one else will, and we get the answers that no one else can. I'm Arabina Apia. Thanks so much for joining us. Can we talk? Because if you're like me, you've probably thought about home ownership, but figuring out how to actually make it happen, that's a whole nother story. Do you buy? Do you build? What are the rules? What are the options? And how do you even begin to navigate mortgages, loans, rent-to-own programs? For many Bahamians, the process can feel complicated and overwhelming and just out of reach. So, is there a solution? The government says yes. With affordable housing initiatives, public-private partnerships, and a rent-to-own program designed to give more people access to get their foot in the door, efforts are underway to close the housing gap. But how accessible are these initiatives? Who qualifies? And will they actually make home ownership a reality for more Bahamians? Stay tuned, because we break it all down in tonight's episode, and we hear from homeowners, developers, and industry experts, as well as the minister himself, to find out how these solutions are delivering real results. Stay tuned, because A Closer Look begins on the other side of the break. Welcome back. You're watching A Closer Look. I'm Arabina Apia. Thanks so much for tuning in. Some issues are big, some issues are complicated, most are both. That's why we're bringing complex concepts into focus this and every week in our all-new segment we're calling In Focus. Tonight, we're looking at home ownership. The government says it's rolling out new solutions, from new subdivisions to rent-to-own programs, to make owning a home more accessible. Preston Ferguson Jr. brings it all into focus.
For many, owning a home has been an uphill battle. From rising costs, increasing demands, and limited availability have made it harder than ever to own a place to call home.
The government of the Bahamas is taking steps to bridge the gap, rolling out several initiatives designed to make home ownership more accessible. From low-cost housing to the innovative rent-to-own program, solutions are being put in place.
Well, currently in the Bahamas, the demand for housing is at an all-time high. Bahamians are looking to own a piece of the rock. They're looking to own their own home.
One of the most talked about initiatives is the rent-to-own program, giving Bahamians a chance to build towards ownership while they rent.
What this program does is it gives people the opportunity to be able to get into a home who may not necessarily have the down payment or meet the normal requirements of a mortgage.
Beyond the capital, the government is investing in sustainable housing on the Family Islands as well.
As you can see, the Renaissance subdivision will have 300 units when it's completed. We have put some 40-plus families in the Pinecrest subdivision. We have put over 20 families in the rent-to-own division in Abaco. We have a lot more coming on stream. I imagine, if we could execute all of this, we should be able to put some 600-plus families in their own homes before the end of the administration.
Securing a home is a tedious task, but speaking with first-time homeowner Barika Butler, she says the key to this journey is persistence.
This has always been a dream of mine. I feel very accomplished to have done this, not only for myself, but my children as well. It's simply you cannot get discouraged. You cannot give up. You have to be persistent. You have to keep trying. One no will open the door for a yes. Just keep knocking.
Housing isn't just a roof over your head. It's security. It's stability. It's the foundation for a better future. And thanks to programs such as the Affordable Housing Initiative, many Bahamians now have a chance to build that future. Reporting for a closer look, I'm Preston Ferguson Jr.
A housing policy is only effective if it delivers results. And with families receiving the keys to their new homes, this initiative is already proving its impact. After months, sometimes years of navigating the process, Bahamians have moved from waiting lists to welcome mats, stepping into homes that they can now call their own. Krishna Russell takes us there. Krishna?
Thanks to the government's Affordable Housing Initiative, homeownership just got a little bit easier. The Ministry of Housing, through its Renaissance at Carmichael Affordable Housing Project, is turning dreams into realities. As 30-year-old educator D'Angela Delancey told us, there was no better feeling than receiving the call of approval for her new home.
Ministry of Housing, I am so excited that they actually called me because I was waiting so long for this opportunity. As a 30-year-old new homeowner, I was surprised. I said, new? After all of the years I waited, as a teacher for 8 years, I've waited so long for this opportunity.
Apart from having to secure a down payment of just under $10,000 for the home and having to make tons of calls to follow up on her application, Ms. Delancey said the process was seamless and being able to turn the keys to the home has readied her for the future.
The most rewarding experience is to turn the key. Everything is already laid out for you. The granite countertops, the windows, the hurricane impact windows, the cabinets, everything is already there. The doors, plumbing work, everything. The only thing is water and sewage. You just go ahead, pay for water and sewage, pay for PPL, that's it.
She left this advice for people interested in home ownership with the Affordable Housing Program.
What I suggest is that you should start saving now for the down payment, and then whenever they call, you're excited and ready to go.
Officials want you to know that home ownership is within reach. For more information, visit bahamas.gov.bs. For a closer look, I'm Krishna Russell. Back to you on the desk.
Thanks, Krishna. Stay with us. A closer look will be back right after this. Welcome back. You're watching A Closer Look. I'm Aravana Afia. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. When we talk about housing, we talk about policies, programs, and price tags. But what about the people still trying to figure it all out? Housing is one of the biggest concerns for many Bahamians, and opinions on it are everywhere. So we took to the streets to hear what you had to say. Our very own Aaron Scavella is on the go in this next report. Aaron?
Welcome to A Closer Look on the Go. Tonight, we're hitting the streets to find out how Bahamians really feel about a topic that's been at the top of everyone's conversation: housing.
We're already feeling the impacts of the government's new housing initiatives with rent-to-own programs, new housing developments, and financial assistance. But how do everyday Bahamians feel about these efforts?
Hearing about the rent-to-own program, that definitely makes me feel a bit more hopeful about housing in the future.
Rent-to-own gives you the opportunity to already do what you were doing, but have it be your own in the near future.
I think the government is doing a good enough job to help the people out. Obviously, every situation is different.
The numbers are promising. 500 plus new homes are set to be completed by the end of the year. giving more families the chance to secure a place to call their own.
It's a ability to step into having something to call your own, something to being able to give to generations.
I know one instance where a 62-year-old, first time in life, was able to get a house. And so that person had the opportunity to now have not a house but a home.
However, there's still more work to be done, and many Bahamians are doubtful about how far this initiative will go in addressing the country's growing housing needs.
But the government probably can do a little more to help as far as affordability for Bahamians and making everything accessible for Bahamians to apply for homes.
I think it's in a bit of a very critical state right now. It's not very affordable, especially given the fact that most population does live in Nassau.
For young Bahamians, the dream of owning a home is hopefully becoming more attainable thanks to this initiative's focus on affordability and accessibility.
It's granted a lot of Bahamians access to a lot more homes, and obviously there's a lot of availability going on now, more than I've seen in the past. So I think the opportunity is there if you're local or Bahamian and you want to do something as far as owning a home. I think the opportunity is there.
As we've heard, the public is slowly becoming informed on how they too can become a homeowner in the near future. However, there are still many questions and concerns about affordable housing across the length and breadth of the Bahamas. Stay informed, keep asking those questions, and we'll continue to bring you the facts. This has been A Closer Look on the Go. Back to you, Rabs.
Stay with us. A Closer Look will be back right after this.
This is the National Youth Guard program designed to train young people to help the Bahama Islands in times of disaster.
I decided to join to better serve my country as well as to better myself.
We train the help in search and rescue,
electrical, plumbing, and carpentry,
and things that they can actually expand on in their careers.
Young people who join the Youth Guard program discover a sense of identity, a sense of purpose, and a sense of patriotism.
This program isn't about only the individuals, it is about the country.
We've explored the policies, the projects, and the people turning home ownership from an idea into reality. But with all these moving parts, what's actually changing for the average everyday Bahamian? Tonight, Minister of Housing and Urban Renewal, the Honorable Keith Bell, is here to answer the big questions. What's working, what's not, and what's next for those still trying to secure a place to call their own. Minister, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. So let's talk about some of the specific measures that the government is implementing. Housing affordability continues to be a pressing issue for many Bahamians, and the government has made that a key priority as well. So can you break down some of the specific actions that are being taken to increase the supply of affordable homes in the country?
Well, certainly. Well, the first thing I think, Rabs, one would want to note is that the government has made a deliberate and calculated shift in its policy of home ownership. The former administration, for the first time in the history of the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, determined that it would not build one house, not one. And that was the first time that a government changed that policy, that the government would not build affordable homes for Bahamians. The second point then is that in coming into office, this administration immediately changed that policy. And we ensured that we began an aggressive initiative to construct homes, not just here in New Providence, but certainly in Grand Bahama and on our family islands, particularly where Hurricane Dorian hit those islands and the homes were devastated. And therefore, we have been very aggressive to ensure that every Bahamian has the opportunity to get a home.
Can you share some of the numbers? I know in Grand Bahama, there were so many people who were displaced after Dorian, like you indicated. So can you give us an idea of how many homes are in the pipeline or how many homes have been built already?
Well, I think, Rabs, the first starting point ought to be the reality is that the government of the Bahamas itself, is somewhat short of 12,000 housing units. 12,000. Wow. We have in excess of 2,500 persons, active applications within the Ministry of Housing. And so therefore,
given the fact that we have had those applications, and of course, Hurricane Dorian just disrupted the numbers. And so the reality is that the idea of ensuring that every Bahamian has an opportunity to get home, the demand is that even more significant. And so for us as a government, the issue of affordability must be balanced with that of one of resilience. And so we don't want to necessarily compromise affordability with that of resilience, ensuring that our homes are built strong and they can resist these very intense hurricanes that we're having.
Now, I imagine something like that requires a lot of time, planning, development. Is there a timeline that you can speak to for when, Bahamians can expect to start seeing, their applications, their requests being answered?
Well, of course, Bahamians have already begun to experience home ownership under this administration. And that is, again, very significant. There are a number of areas, not just here in New Providence, but certainly in the Family Islands. In response to one of the questions you asked earlier, what are the numbers? And I think that is what Bahamians really want to know. We anticipate that we're going to build in excess of 150 homes at a minimum under this administration. At currently, varying stages, we have built and completed homes, and we have homes under construction, and that number is somewhere around 80 or more homes that we have done to date.
Okay. So I know that the government has also launched its rent-to-own program. Can you give us some insights? It has been really one of the most anticipated initiatives, and it aims to make home ownership more attainable for persons who may not qualify regularly for a mortgage. So can you explain to us exactly how that program works and how people can make themselves, or take advantage of that, rather?
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you, this is the first time again in the history of a government that it has launched such a robust program. And I might add, one which really reaches down to the Bahamians below the poverty lines and those which are perhaps even on minimum wage. In addition to that, the single mothers, the persons who have children who are challenged, the elderly couple, persons who are taking care of their parents. And so this program is very, very dynamic. What it does is that where a person may be making a salary, they may have employment, and they may not necessarily have the down payment for a home, or they may have a down payment for a home but cannot qualify for a mortgage. What we have been able to do is to meet these persons halfway. We're still able to put them in a home, and the payments that they make goes towards the principal sum. In as much as if they're able to qualify subsequent for a mortgage, then they're able to meet that demand. And that is significant. And this ties directly into our government rental units. We have more than 100 units, government rental units across New Providence, some in the Family Islands. And what that program does is that if we identify someone who may very well be entitled or would want to get a mortgage or want to get a home, we're able to put them in the government rental unit with the object of eventually moving them into their own home. And that ties directly into the rent-to-own program as well.
So how can persons, or what are the specific qualifications? Like if I am looking to, engage in the government's rent-to-own program, what do I, as the potential homeowner, need to do?
Sure. Well, for me, the primary thing is to exercise financial discipline and restraint, first of all, and to, of course, be patient. You have to be patient. As I indicated, we are significantly short in the number of housing units that we need to meet the demand. And so you need to, first of all, come in. And what we will do is we'll sit with you and we will assess your financial situation. And I will tell every Bahamian, you may be very well heavily indebted. You may have some loans at the bank. You may have some consumer loans. Do not be afraid to come in and let us assess you, and we can put you on the right path towards home ownership. And so I want to invite every Bahamian, do not discount yourself out.
Okay, Minister, are there any numbers you can speak to regarding the rent-to-own program? How many persons have transitioned from renting to actually owning their homes?
Well, as you would appreciate, this program is in its embryonic stage. I'm pleased to report, nevertheless, that we have put families in their homes in Abaco, and we're looking to put approximately 10 families in homes in New Providence within the next month. And so while it's in its embryonic stage, again, as I indicated, we have units, houses, which are being constructed as we speak, that we anticipate will add to that.
Well, I know that, a project like this, an initiative like this, any large-scale project really has a lot of obstacles, whether in this case it's land availability, like you spoke to, financing, regulatory hurdles. from your position, what has been the biggest challenge in the rolling out of, this affordable housing initiative?
Well, obviously the cost of living. The cost. It's always a cost and affordability. And in that context, the government has given a number of tax concessions. We've done a lot of exemptions, VAT exemptions, and of course we've done a lot of relief programs, which is very, very significant. And so just to give you an illustration of one, for example, if you're constructing a home for the first time, we have ensured that you can get up to $40,000 in exemptions on construction material for first-time homeowners. In addition to that, the stamp duty or the VAT for first-time owners, you have a complete exemption. So if you're building a house under $500,000, you're building a house for $300,000, which means that your VAT payable on that would be somewhere around $30,000, which is shared. So you as a new homeowner would have to come up with $15,000. It's an upfront cost for that home. You're completely exempted. That is very significant for first-time homeowners. And of course, in terms of tax relief, the government has continuously been given exemptions on building materials, that includes plumbing, supplies, electrical, the insulation, everything. And that is very, very significant for first-time homeowners. In addition to that, for developers, for example, for us as the government, in all of our subdivisions, we have an exemption on building materials. And for private developers, if they're building 5 or more homes under $300,000, they're entitled to do the exemptions. And that helps to lower the cost of home and ensuring that homes are affordable for first-time homeowners and the like.
So the incentives obviously exist. How do people access them? What are the steps that need to be taken?
For example, so for first-time homeowner, obviously the attorneys and we would know that you're a first-time owner, but we have the records, etc. And it is an automatic. It's an automatic exemption in respect to as you move the construction or as you move the legal work ahead.
Now, Minister, that is incredible. But do you think that, we are at the place where people know enough? Is there enough public awareness about these initiatives, these incentives, and how do we get more people on the path to home ownership?
Well, what we've been doing is we've been holding a number of home fairs. We've been holding a number of fairs and seminars and workshops across. We have a website in the Ministry of Housing where you can actually go and access all of this information on the internet. And in addition to that, we have an open door policy where anyone can come in at any hour of the day and get information. In addition to that, when you're buying a home, you have to go and seek legal advice. And so the attorneys are there to ensure that they properly represent your interests and they would ensure that you get all of the information. So the information is out there. And I can tell you, I am very proud that thousands and thousands and thousands of Bahamians are coming forth because they know the value and the significance of owning their home. They know it.
I guess my final question then, Minister, is that beyond the direct housing programs, I know legislation is also going to play a key role in the affordability initiative. So are there any upcoming policy changes designed to make housing more accessible for Bahamians? What have been some of the discussions around things like rent control or property taxes? And what role will land reform play in the government's future plans as well?
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you this. That's a number of questions you've asked, first of all. Yes. But, the thing is that obviously legislation will play a key role and government policy will play a key role. As I said at the beginning, the first thing is that we have to ensure that there is continuity of what it is that we're doing. So no government should come behind now and say, we're not going to build no more homes and just stop the housing constructions that we're dealing. That's the first thing. The second thing is we have to acknowledge the fact that not just in New Providence, but throughout the Family Islands, the fact that people are now, this Airbnb, for example, on the Family Islands and even in New Providence, they are being absorbed by persons coming to the Bahamas. And therefore it means that Bahamians cannot get rentals, Bahamians cannot get homes because Bahamians are putting up their homes and even for these Airbnb. And so the demand is that much more significant. And so for us, we have to ensure that we introduce legislation and policies. And of course, even in respect to the rent. Right now, persons are paying rent upwards to $2,000 for a 3-bed, 2-bath, which is far more than a mortgage payment. And so we have to put in place some mechanisms by which we ensure that we control rent on these rental properties. There are persons living in rentals which have no bathroom facilities.
Wow.
And so we know that the legislation, we're playing a catch-up game. But I am happy that the Office of the Attorney General, the Minister of State for Minister Hal Peterson, all of us are working collectively to ensure that we address this myriad of challenges that we have. And the point for us is one step at a time, one family at a time. And of course, if we can put just one family in a home, we know that our life would not be in vain. And so the reality for us is to ensure that we multiply that. That is why we're building out Renaissance. It's a 300 subdivision. I'm pleased to say that the government has given permission for us to build a new subdivision in Adastra.
Oh, nice.
And right off Papal Track, and that will be 160 homes we are creating in there. And so you have these major subdivisions that we are creating, not just in New Providence, but also in Grand Bahama, in Abaco, in San Salvador, in Mangrove Bush, Andros. Some people don't even know what is Mangrove Bush, but we have them there. And so it is our intention to amplify and accelerate to ensure that no Bahamian is left behind.
Well, Minister, we're definitely going to have you come back because I foresee that there are so many more updates that you'll be able to provide for us once more of these incentives, once more of this initiative gets underway. I want to thank you so much for stopping by the show and sharing this information with us.
Thank you very much. And of course, as I said, Bahamians come in. This is the time now for you to own your home. Take advantage of the opportunity.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we have more show right after this, so stay tuned. Hello, everyone. Be sure to tune in right here every Monday night at 8 p.m. for another episode of A Closer Look, the show dedicated to bringing you the facts. I'm Arabina Apia, your host for this season, and I'll see you right here every Monday night at 8 p.m. on cable channel 212. Welcome back. We've spent this episode breaking down the policies, the projects, and government promises. But here's the thing. None of it makes a difference if Bahamians still feel like home ownership is out of their reach. New subdivisions, rent-to-own programs, government initiatives, and incentives are all steps to help, but are they enough? What is clear is that progress is happening. Homes are being built, families are moving in, and opportunities that didn't exist before are now within reach for so many more Bahamians. Still, there's a lot of work to be done, but the foundation is being laid, literally and figuratively. Thanks so much for tuning in tonight. I'm Arabina Apia, and next week we'll be back with a closer look at all of the stories that matter most to you. Till next time, good night, everyone.